Student athletes are being put in a position to be abused for their talents each season. For many years, students have not been able to create income due to their obligations to their universities. This, mixed with the fact that they put their bodies on the line and risk injury every time they step out on the court or on the field, has caused many student athletes to lose lots of money in the long run. Though this topic of debate has been talked about for years and years, not much progress has been made either way. The best solution so far has been to allow student athletes to profit off their own likeness. With every problem comes a solution. The first problem we encounter is universities not being able to afford their athletes. Dave Anderson, in his article, Top 10 Reasons Colleges Should Not Pay for Their Athletes, talks about equal pay. Equal pay is a great argument. Should the star quarterback for the football team be paid as much as maybe a catcher for the softball team? Obviously, their impact on the school's revenue is much different. Though they're both great athletes, one is bringing in a lot more than the other. So how should their pay be reflected? And who decides who gets paid what? Who's in charge of that? Another great argument is unfair competition. The bigger schools have more money, so they'll be able to pay for better athletes than the smaller schools. There's a big division there, so how do we create it to be fair? Well, then the next argument would be salary cap. Would the schools introduce a salary cap similar to professional teams? A salary cap is basically putting a limitation on how much a school can pay for their team. So every school, including the big and the small, would pay the same for their team. But if they're introducing a salary cap, why are they a college at all? Aren't they there to teach? John Solomon, in his article, History Behind the Debation of Paying Student Athletes, talks about taxes. If student athletes are paid for working, are they workers? Yeah, so they'd have to pay taxes, right? Well, if they're paying taxes and they're workers, are they required to attend classes for their school? Probably not. But if they're not attending classes, should they really be playing for the school at all? Great points. Let's talk about the opposing viewpoint. The opposing viewpoint is that student athletes deserve more. Student athletes should be compensated for their hard work and their talents. Ben Strauss, in his article, Fight to Keep College Athletes from Pain of Injury Costs, talks about how student athletes bring in lots of revenue, but they see none of the profits made by the school. They risk career-ending injuries, and many could play pro, but they're limited due to age restrictions by maybe professional leagues. That's about the top 1% affected by this. That top 1% could be playing professionally and making money, but they're not allowed. Paying student athletes is a very tough discussion to have. There isn't a simple answer, but I believe it's our responsibility as a society to be very open-minded, to fight for the student athletes' rights, but to keep the college's best interest in mind. The best solution is to allow student athletes to profit off their own likeness. This includes sponsorships, social media promotion, and commercials. The NCAA, as of right now, does not allow athletes to receive any type of sponsor or revenue for their talents. But there are plenty of opportunities out there. If these student athletes are allowed to receive sponsorship money, that top 1% who could be playing professionally right now would be getting endorsed by these big brands and making money for their talents that they've worked hard for. Another argument is third source. By allowing student athletes to receive sponsorship money, the colleges would not be responsible for paying them at all. It would create a very fair system. The very best of the best would get paid by the big brands, and the rest, who may not play professionally, wouldn't. If you want to be paid, you have to be the best. And I think that's a very fair system. It wouldn't be a job, so it wouldn't affect student athletes being able to miss classes or miss practice. It would be simply a side job bringing in side revenue for their hard work. It would only affect the top 1%, And that's what we're really going for here, protecting the best of the best. The top 1% is viewed as an athlete before a student. The rest are a student before an athlete. Let's review. Today we have gone over how student athletes make or don't make money, the injuries and the risk they go out when they play, the potential endorsement money they can make, who all is affected, the top 1%, and the big concerns about this topic regarding how universities would be affected. In summary, to conclude, we've gone over how this has been relevant for many years, but not much has been done. So I urge you to have a voice in this conversation and to be open-minded. The student athletes need a voice to stand up for them, but the universities can't be bullied either. Everyone has a say in this argument, and I hope we choose the right way.